Okay, well, believe it or not, the tool that I use more than anything else besides my cameras for the creative process is my iPad. That's what we're talking about today. Well, hello. If you do not know who I am, my name is Tony, and I am a filmmaker photographer in the St. Louis area. Today we are talking about the 2021 M1 iPad Pros that were just released recently. I put my pre-order in, and I'm going to tell you exactly which ones I got and kind of how that fits into the creative process for me. But I want to let you know that the iPad, believe it or not, is the tool that I use more than anything else in my kit besides my camera when it comes to the creative process. I am constantly doing research on my iPad. I am editing videos. I'm editing photos. Pretty much all of the photos that I edit now happen on my iPad. And I can kind of explain some of that process later, but I just use my iPad all the time for that creative process. And so I think it's a big deal when new iPads are released. Now, just to let you know what I have the 2018 iPad Pro, which has USB-C. It also is the 11-inch, and I only bought the keyboard folio. I didn't buy the Magic Keyboard. I may do that for this next one. I haven't decided yet. I haven't bought a new keyboard, but it has worked really well for me. I love the form factor of the 11-inch. I love the fact that the pencil just snaps right on there. This iPad with the USB-C is incredible. Now, I ordered the 2021 because of a couple different reasons, specifically with my workflow. So let's talk about some of the things that I really love about what they changed from this one to the new one. The first one is, I've already mentioned it, is that M1 chip, which is a big deal because that is a desktop class chip that they're putting in an iPad Pro. That opens up so much more for the iPad to be able to handle. Now, to be honest with you, my 2018 does not stutter when it comes to video editing, when it comes to photo editing. There is a few apps, if I'm multitasking and doing a couple things, that I have noticed that I've bogged down the power on it. But for the most part, I think most people will never ever max out the potential of even this 2018. So I'm really excited to see just how powerful it is with that M1 chip that they're sticking in desktops. So that's a big deal. I'm really excited about that. The other thing that really gets me excited is the Thunderbolt port. Now, this one has a USB-C port, which is really nice because what that allows me to do is it allows me to hook up a hard drive to that, and I can transfer files. I can also use the little USB-C hub. I can transfer files straight from my SD card or my micro SD card right onto my hard drive without backing it up on the iPad first. Really nice. They did a really good job when they released the Files app to be able to do some of those fancy things on an iPad, and you don't need to rely on bringing a computer with you in the field to do that. The only problem is that it was kind of slow. And so now that we've got that Thunderbolt that has so much more bandwidth, it's like 4 times faster for transfer rates. And so you're going to see a lot faster transfer rates in the new iPad and that's one of the things that kind of bogged down. It would take a long time for me to transfer files, especially with the R5, because those are really big files. So I'm really excited for that, and there's been times when I've been a little frustrated with just how long it takes, especially if I shoot, say I shoot a portrait session, I can shoot up to 800 photos in a session, and that would take a really long time to transfer with this. So a lot of times what I would do, I'd stick it in the computer, I'd back it up on my hard drive, and then I would upload everything to Lightroom through my iPad, or just wait for the cloud to back it all up. But so now I think that will be a little bit smoother process, and it allows for more features within that USB-C port, like plugging in a full monitor, just kind of making it a little bit more powerful when it comes to its flexibility. Now, I do want to mention they did one other big change, at least in my books. There's a bunch of other things, but the other big one for me is the screen. Now, with the 11-inch, It's the same thing as the 2018, but the 12.9 inch, they went ahead and put a nicer screen. It's incredible. I mean, you're really getting a good value for your money. But for me, I just would rather have the screen that's honestly very good right now. I love how bright it is. I love how touch responsive it is. I think the color contrast is great. It's a really good representation of, across the board, what is a good photo gonna look like. And so if you want that next step, go ahead and pay the extra money and get the HDR new screen. But the problem is that it's just so big, and I think the 11-inch for me is the right fit. So I'm going with the 11-inch. I decided to go bump up to the 512. Now, there is a difference between the 512 and smaller, and then the 1 terabyte and the 2 terabytes. Those both have 16 gigs of RAM, and I may be kicking myself for not getting the 1 terabyte, but it was a difference of like $400. And so this one is actually 256 gig, and I have never ran out of space on this. I would upload my footage, and it would go into a cache via LumaFusion. LumaFusion does all of that, where it basically, when you import the footage into the software, it creates a cache, and then once you're done with that project, you just empty your cache and it frees up that space. Now, with the new Thunderbolt port, it's fast enough that you can actually edit video right off of the hard drive, which is really nice. You don't have to mess with that cache capacity, which, once again, I never had trouble with that. But I went ahead and bumped up to the 512 or whatever it is, and I'm getting a little bit bigger hard drive, and I'm sticking with the 11-inch screen. So that's what I decided to do. Now I'm going to do a video. I'm going to do 2 of them coming up really soon here. The first one is on accessories that I use constantly besides the keyboard and the Apple Pencil. I'm going to make a video on some of those accessories that I use, like my hub and a couple other things that you might be interested in getting if you're using the iPad Pro. And then another one that I'm going to make coming up is some of the software, the apps that I use specifically for creative process. Now, I do so many different things on my iPad. I take notes, I do research, I do obviously photo editing and video. There's just so many things that I use on my app or on my iPad that really help me become a better creative. And I love the fact that I can do it from my couch. Now, I also have a MacBook. The problem with MacBooks is they're kind of big and clunky. I feel like they're just a little bit more fragile, like because of that aircraft aluminum. I'm afraid that it's going to get dented. With this, I don't care. You can see just how beat up this case is. I mean, it is falling apart, but I am hard. This goes on my motorcycle. It just throws in the backseat of the Jeep. I take it everywhere with me, and it's just really durable. Now, I cannot do that with my MacBook Pro. Not to mention the fact that it gets warm when I'm really pushing it, and there's a cursor, opposed to just being able to have all of the intuitive touching of an iPad Pro. And not to mention, if I need to sign a document, all I do is grab that pencil and sign my name. There's just so many features that make the iPad really versatile. And I think I'm getting to the point where I may not even carry around my MacBook Pro anymore if I can get to the point where there's just a couple things that I still need my MacBook Pro for in order to be in the field. But that window is getting shorter and shorter every iPad that I get. Bottom line is the iPad Pro has really taken a turn in a different direction once they split off from iOS. They started coming out with iPad OS, which really started to make a division between an iPad and an iPhone. When they first came out, believe it or not, I was not an early adopter. Usually I am. Usually I pre-order, just take my money. I don't care what the product is. I was like that with the watch and everything, but with the iPad, I didn't buy an iPad until iPad 4, which feels like forever ago because it was. But I waited till the 4th version just because I felt like the iPad was just a glorified iPhone, just had an iPhone with more screen, or maybe even an iPad Touch, if you remember those things. And I just didn't really see how it fit into my workflow. Now, I really feel like the iPad is really starting to take some major strides in diversifying itself from that iOS. So lots of really good things happening with Apple, and I'm excited just with their they're just pushing the industry, and I know that that is a very controversial, polarizing topic, Apple or the world. And for me, the things that I love about Apple is, one, they all work together. I've got the iMacs, I've got the iPad Pros, I've got the iPhones, and they all just work seamlessly. The other thing that I really love about Apple is just its stability. I don't ever have to worry if things are going to be falling apart, or they don't sync, or they don't work the way that I want them to. It's just a really stable process, and I understand how it all works together. And so for me, that ecosystem works really well. Now, say you've got an Android or a PC and you don't have that ecosystem, I still think that the iPad Pro is the way to go. Like, if you walk into any like Best Buy or anything and you look at the screens and the features and the touch is just so responsive on an iPad. I mean, it really is the premium iPad when it comes to tablets. And so I still think that the iPad is worth it, even if you do not have that ecosystem that I'm living in. Other thing that I want to suggest is maybe you do not want to shell out $1,000 for a new iPad. What I would suggest is looking into the iPad Air, the new one with the USB-C. It's just going to be a little less performance-based, but it's still going to have a lot of the features that these iPads do. Or you could try and find a 2018. Probably going to be selling mine. So, yeah. Other than that, I'm a really big fan of iPads these days. They're just really powerful, and honestly, I think as a creative, you can get by with doing a lot of your creative output through an iPad Pro. It's a really good foundation to be able to have a powerful machine that can edit video, or can take, really good, big, raw images, and you can be editing those, and get them out. So, other than that, I think we're going to land the plane on this video. I am excited to be back. I haven't done a ton of videos lately just because I've been working a ton. I've been doing a ton of weddings. I've been doing a ton of portrait shoots. And leave a comment if you're still watching this video as I ramble. Leave a comment if you would be interested in some portrait shoot tips and tricks. That's a video that I'm kind of thinking that I want to do if there's some interest, but it's not necessarily camera tutorial. It's more of like how to pose your subjects, and how to make your subjects just feel a little bit more comfortable in front of the camera so that you can get good photos. Let me know if you'd be interested in a video like that, or if not, let me know what else you would be interested in. Alright guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We're growing, we're having fun. I occasionally post some of my work up on the channel just to kind of keep things fresh and let you see what I'm up to. So, alright guys, keep using those cameras, and we will see you in the next video.